Mother Assumpta was speaking that day, and she was talking about martyrdom. And I remember just looking at her and just thinking how beautiful she was and the four of you. I was going to sneak out the back and go to work, and I thanked Father for offering the Mass that day. And he said, well, let me introduce you to someone. So he took me right up to you and Mother and the rest of the sisters. And I immediately just got overwhelmed, and I started bawling.
People often wonder who we are. Why do we dress this way? What do we do all day? Why do we live this kind of life? What does it mean to be a sister, a priest, a Catholic? We want to help you navigate life through faith to find the truth of God and all His glory, because the truth shall set you free.
Welcome back to our series, The Truth Shall Set You Free, as part of our Go LE Digital podcast series. And today we have with us a very special sister, and she's going to refer to her vocation story. But I also wanted to emphasize that if the truth sets us free, that's because the truth equals God. And so how do we know how to go about this freedom and to find God? We do this through finding our vocation. Sister Ave Maria, where are you from? What was it like growing up? And how did you find your vocation?
Well, Sister, I'm a local. I live about an hour southwest of here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. I guess I first found the community. I picked up a local diocesan newspaper, and I saw the picture of the four of the founders of the community. And it said, Bishop welcomes sisters to the diocese. And it said, Mary Mother of the Eucharist. And my heart just leapt out of my throat. And I had this feeling or this thought that I would be with that community someday. But from there, I dismissed it from my mind. And then I really didn't have another encounter with the sisters until I was working at U of M Hospital and as a nurse. And I had heard about the First Friday talks and breakfasts and that Tom Monahan had been organizing every first Friday of the month. And I decided to go with my mom one day. We got up early and drove all the way to Domino's Farms, and Mother Assumpta was speaking that day. It happened to be. And the four of you were just sitting up there at the top, and I was sitting in the back.
Eating our breakfast pizza, yes. Remember?
And she was talking about martyrdom, and I remember just looking at her and just thinking how beautiful she was and the four of you. And I just, I was going to sneak out the back and go to work, and I thanked Father for offering the Mass that day. And he said, well, let me introduce you to someone. So he took me right up to you and Mother and the rest of the sisters. And I immediately just got overwhelmed, and I started bawling. But I remember thinking, this is not normal for me to react this way. So that was really my first encounter with all of you. And so that's in the back of my mind. I continued to work as a nurse, but really didn't take steps to really enter the community until about a year and a half later after that. I'm kind of stubborn, and you know me.
You are very stubborn. And I have to say, and when you were crying and crying and crying, I remember turning to Sister John Dominic and saying, she's crying a lot. And she goes, yeah, she's pretty emotional. And I said, and that's a good sign.
So the Lord has His ways.
God is working. Now, Sister, did you come from a Catholic family?
I did. I grew up an hour southwest of here, and there's 5 kids in our family, and three boys, 2 girls. And really, my mom taught us the faith growing up. We weren't blessed to have a Catholic school in our area, but every Saturday she would sit us down and teach the faith. I would say both of my parents were really role models of virtue to me growing up. My dad just was such a hard worker, and he was a physical therapist.
Beautiful.
And he put so many hours in, but he would always spend time with us and make time for the kids, whether that was playing games or quizzing us with our spelling. But he loved to spend time with us, and sports were a big part of our lives. We all were involved with sports, so he always loved going to our games. But he was a model of generosity. And so I remember him, when we all started getting jobs, I remember him sitting down with me and teaching me how to find 10% of what I was making to give.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? Is your dad a convert?
He is. He grew up Presbyterian and converted right before he married Mom.
So he sat down and explained to you how to tithe.
Yes.
Wow.
I remember him teaching me 10%. So
isn't that
I think that
beautiful?
It's so natural to him, that generosity. But really, he learned the faith from my mom, and most of us did. I know, just watching Mom, she lived it.
But he gave 20% if we consider he gave one of his two daughters. And in reality, we know that he gave both of his daughters. Yes. Because where's your sister today?
Yeah, so I have a sister who is also a religious. She's in the Sisters of Life. I was hoping someday she'd enter our community, but that was not God's plan. But she was always the one that was supposed to be a sister.
Oh, I see.
She was the sweet one, but
not the prankster.
I was the prankster, the contrary, the stubborn one. But God worked on me too. So,
where did you go to college?
So after high school graduation, I went to Franciscan University, and it was really there that I was learning the faith, studying nursing and theology, but I really saw young people on fire, to be Catholic, to live their faith. And I discovered Eucharistic adoration for the first time. So I was praying for the first time. So I learned the faith growing up, but it really didn't go from my head to my heart until I went to the university. And it was such a gift. I went through my 4 years there. And my last year, I started dating a young man, and he's now a priest for the Diocese of Washington, D.C., and I'm a sister. So the Lord, works through every little detail. But
would you have ever thought when you were dating him that he'd make a good priest?
Actually, yes. We did. We talked about it, but yeah.
But that's all you did?
Well, we always considered the possibility that God could be asking that of us. But it wasn't a reality for me until I saw all of you. And
And sister, was it difficult when you entered to realize that your degree, of course, was in nursing? You were already nursing at University of Michigan Hospital. Right. Was it difficult to change from that to say, now I'm going to go back and get a degree in teaching?
The fact that you all taught really was not an obstacle in. I knew when I met you that I just knew that I was supposed to enter. It didn't matter what you did. And we always know that it's our consecration that's first, and the apostolate flows from that. But I remember thinking, they teach, and I don't even have a desire to teach. Could God be calling me somewhere else? So that thought did cross my mind, but it certainly was not an obstacle. I was so, attracted to just give my life to the Lord, and it didn't matter what they did. But I do keep up my nursing license, and as long as the community has people, there's always a need,
Exactly. So how have you used that as a Dominican Sister of Mary?
Yeah, well, there's always a need to, sisters get sick in the community. Just recently with this whole COVID epidemic, there's just to have a plan, it's been exciting to kind of be part of thinking through what we're going to do to protect our sisters. But we'll see.
And it's a constant challenge.
It is.
Because to keep that many women living together during this pandemic has been a challenge. And yet, God's grace is sufficient, and many good things have come out of it too.
Yes, absolutely.
Sister, how did your parents react when you told them you thought you had a religious vocation?
Yeah, they were very supportive overall. I remember my dad sitting me down the night before I entered and saying, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Ultimately, he just wanted my happiness.
Yes.
And that's what your parents want for you. And really, I just remember saying, well, I'm just going to take the step, and the Lord will open or close doors. So, but I always appreciated that when he did that. Again, I saw that as he loved me and he wants my happiness and my holiness. So, but no, my parents were always supportive, sister. And I've been blessed for that. I know that that's not always the case. And after my sister entered religious life, I think my family has just grown in their understanding of religious life and accepting even my sister. And, there's a sacrifice involved, certainly. And families feel that, but I think they also see the gift of a religious vocation and the beauty of it.
I was going to say, so what's it like to have a sister be a sister? But I think I know.
Right.
So we are so blessed. Yes. And amazingly, we do have several sisters who have sisters, whichever direction you want to look, in our community. And I do think that is such a great blessing. And I think sometimes for our listeners, they would think, gosh, to have one daughter become a religious or one son become a priest. And I think to myself, if God has blessed you with more children, why not 2 or even 3? So in my family, 2/3 of us are religious. But I just think, you will see it all in heaven. The more you give, the more will be your eternity immediately. And so I just think what a great, great blessing that is. And sister, you do come from a very beautiful family. And
thank you.
That is my first memory of you, are the tears to where I would ask your name and you couldn't speak. And you would look in the other direction, then you'd try to straighten up again. And then I would say, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, more tears would come. And I walked with you that whole distance there at Domino's Farms, as you mentioned, and could not get a word out of you, but I knew you had a vocation to us. Wow. So, sister, how I thank God that you do, and you're living it, and you give so much to the community. And again, thank you for coming today so that more of our audience gets to know you too. Sister Ave Maria, what a beautiful name.
Thank you. I love my name.
And so does she.
It's all her fault. I became a sister. So that's another story.
That's right. We'll have to have you back again, sister. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.